Hello and welcome to NU 442, the Population Health Practicum for the summer. And I'm Christine Deal. I am one of the clinical instructors, and so I am putting together just a general orientation for the course, just to help you kind of identify where things are found within this Canvas site. So we will start with the syllabus. Okay, so there are several different instructors which will be assigned. I'm Christine Deal, as I said, and Dr. Joan Agee and Debbie Lemon and Heidi Green are the other instructors for the course. Okay, and then here's the contact information. So whoever is your clinical or your practicum instructor, that's who you would email for questions and such. Okay, the required text is the same text as what you use in 440. Here's a course description. A lot of this you can just read through. Here are the intended learning outcomes. And then methods of grading. So it is a pass-fail course, but you have to have a 73% overall average to pass the course. And every component must be completed. So for example, you can't just say, oh, well, I've got a 90%, I don't have to turn in this assignment, because you have to complete all required clinical components and hours to pass the course. Okay, and here is a summary of graded activities. You have introduction discussion board post, which should be done as soon as possible, because we need to have that verification of enrollment for financial aid. They need to know that really quickly for the summer session. You will have a quiz over the syllabus that will be due that first week as well. We also have a service learning journal, and I'll talk more about that later as we get into that section of the modules. Emergency preparedness training and activities. We have a community assessment project, and then a final report. We have a film discussion board, an education outreach flyer or brochure, and then your evaluation tool that you fill out at the end. However, as you go along, it's important to just kind of continue to fill that out as you go along, and I'll show you that as we go through. Okay, late assignments, just like before, please let your practicum instructor know at least 24 hours prior to the date the assignment is due. If you need an extension, the time to do it is as soon as possible, that you know you're going to need an extension, not the day after it's due. So just keep in good communication with your faculty instructor. Okay, the introduction post must be completed by May 25th, earlier if possible, for enrollment verification and financial aid. And then a quiz over the syllabus is due May 27th. Okay. Service learning project, you will have 22 hours for service learning, and that is in any area any area that is of interest to you, that serves the community, that serves for promotes health in the community. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in a wellness clinic. I know a lot of people in the Boise area choose to do their hours at Genesis Healthcare, but it could also be at a soup kitchen, St. Vincent de Paul, Salvation Army. There are multiple areas, a wide range of areas to do your hours in that will fit the requirement. Some of these may require background checks, proof of immunization, so you just will, whatever your volunteer agency requires is what is your responsibility to fulfill. We also have a self-care component in the journal. Just because self-care is a relatively new component we have because of the importance it is for you all to take care of yourself. Emergency disaster preparedness hours are 12 hours. As I mentioned, you'll have 6 hours of Nurses on the Front Line, which is an online training session, and then the 6 remaining hours can be like any of these other examples. So you can volunteer with the Medical Reserve Corps or the American Red Cross, and we do have information on how to go about doing that further on in the modules of the course. And as I mentioned, your education outreach, you have 12 hours of that, which mostly involves meeting with an administrator or a manager at a community. I think I gave the example of the women's shelter, and just identifying what the educational needs of that community may be, and then researching and developing an informational flyer or brochure that you then present after getting feedback from your instructor. You then present to the manager at the community that you're working with, and they can choose if they want to use that in their population. Again, this is not a teaching. This is not, you don't have to do any more any teaching hours. The hours are involved in the research and the compilation of that flyer. And the clinical activities journal, you will have them do frequently through the summer session, and those dates are outlined on the assignment graph that we have at the end of this syllabus here. But your journal entries are required, even if you don't have anything new that week. Just please still upload your journal and say, I have nothing new this week, but my plans are. And let us know, because this is a good way we can keep track of where you are and what you're doing, and if you need any assistance and any feedback that we can provide based on what you identify in the journal, for example. So always upload your journal. There are 15 points for each upload, and be sure to also indicate what your future plans are, or if you have any future dates that are set. And those journals are typically due on a Sunday. The first one is due June 5th, and then every other week after, so every other Sunday after that. And then the community assessment project. So this does not have to be in any way correlated to your service learning hours or your education outreach hours. They are 3 independent assignments. If you do choose the same community that you're doing for your community assessment, if you do the community assessment project on the same community that you might be working at with your education or your service learning, you can't double the hours. You have to do 24 additional hours. It has to be some additional time, so you can't double count hours. But you certainly can use the same facility. For example, if you're working at a homeless or you're doing service learning hours at a homeless shelter, and your community assessment project is on the homeless, you can do that, but you got to make sure that you have the hours necessary for each separate assignment. And we have a roundtable film discussion. We have a list of films, and you have a due date on which to vote on the film that you want to discuss. So your clinical group will vote on it through the discussion board, and then you will have questions presented to you and to answer based on whatever film has been voted upon. And there is a due date for the vote, so put your vote in if you want to have a say in that. So there's a due date for the vote, there's a due date for the initial post, and then there is a due date for when your response to peers needs to be in. So make sure you write on your calendar all those specific due dates, because you can't just do it all at the end date that is due. The end date that is due would be when it's completely closed and your peer responses are in, etc., which would be July 17th. So you want to have your initial post in by the 10th of July. And that's that's further on in the syllabus, all the due dates. And then your practicum evaluation tool, you're awarded 2 clinical hours for completing it. There's a template that we will go over. And then here are the dates. So you can see the range of dates, what needs to be accomplished within each range there. Okay, again, here we've got the vote due on the 19th. We've got the initial post due on July 10th and the peer response due on July 17th. So everything is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory here. But again, if you have any questions, please contact your assigned practicum instructor, as well as letting us know if you need an extension for extenuating circumstances at any time. Okay, so now we will go back to the modules. And then this is just the course schedule that's the same as what we just looked at the end of the syllabus. So it's on a separate sheet for ease of printing, okay, when things are due. So definitely take a look at that because the summer will go really fast. And yeah, you want to pace yourself. And that's part of why we do the... We have things due periodically, so everything's not left to the end. Okay, and then I will be posting this recording. Introduction attendance, okay, again, May 25th, orientation quiz, May 27th. Here's some information on your service learning objectives and requirements to read through. Information on your disaster preparedness hours, nurses on the front line training. Here's information on that, and then you know how to access that. Okay, and people have really enjoyed the nurses on the front line. There's a lot of really good information in there. And then you submit your certificate that you've completed it to get your points by July 3rd. Here's the information I talked about if you wanted to do your other disaster hours volunteering for the Red Cross or the Medical Reserve Corps. So this is just extra information if you choose to do that. And again, optional online training modules if you want to spend some of your remaining 6 hours of disaster preparedness with some other modules. And then you would take a quiz on that module, and that's how you would get your hours for that. Clinical activities journal. Okay, so it's to be reflective. Here's a template for the journal we'll just look at real quickly. Okay, so you have self-care 8 hours, and then you just write in the date, description of activity, and reflection, and then you keep a running tally of your hours. Okay, same thing with the service learning and the education outreach and the disaster preparedness, same thing. Just keep a running tally of your hours. Okay, and then here is where you would submit each journal and the due dates. So here is a project overview for the community assessment project, but all of these components here are part of that project. So you'll start with identification of the community, you'll do a windshield survey, then the tool. So all these pieces that are due periodically so you can get feedback really are going to result in the culmination of your final paper. So so that shouldn't be too bad by the time you get to your final paper because you'll have received all the feedback on the components. Presentation to the community, you can present to whoever, or either present in person or send a PowerPoint presentation on your findings and your proposed interventions and evidence to support your interventions and such, and all that is identified in what's needed in the paper. But that would be, you would present to the community that you, like say if you're doing the homeless shelter, you would present to the manager of the homeless shelter what you found and what you propose as interventions for the project to promote health. So that is what the presentation to the community is. Letting them know what you've been working on, because you put in all that hard work, you might as well, you need to show it to the community that you've been focusing on. Okay, and then here's the roundtable film discussion, which would be over here. You would access also in the discussion board. Okay, and when you click on this kind of gives information. Here are the due dates, and then here are the films. You can click on that, and then you can see kind of a little summary of what the films are about if you aren't familiar with them before you vote. They're all really good. Okay, oops. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm going back down to where I was. Okay, and then the vote, that will get you to the discussion board basically, and then you would just put in your vote. And then we tally them, and then we pose questions based on what was voted on, or majority vote. Oh, modules is what I want. Okay, and then information on your outreach flyer brochure, which I've already gone over. The practicum evaluation tool template. So as you are going through the summer session, always look at this evaluation tool, because you'll be filling this out, and everybody will meet these requirements in different ways, because you'll be in different service learning and different education outreach experiences. And so you would just quantify how you met these competencies for the course based on your personal experiences. So kind of be filling this out as you go, and it will be less cumbersome to have to do it all at the end. Sorry about this fast scrolling. And then there's just some extra resources for you to look at. And then Canvas, getting started in Canvas, helpful tips for Canvas. If you're having a problem with Canvas, the Canvas hotline, student hotline, is really good. I've had to use the faculty hotline. So if you're having trouble on the Canvas site, please know that you can certainly call Canvas for assistance hotline. And it seems like I wanted to show you something else. Oh, I might have, let's see. I thought I had posted some examples for some presentations. Let's see here. Okay, I will. Okay, it doesn't look like it transferred over. So we would try to do our best to do some examples. Gosh, that's really weird. Let's see here. Wait a minute, just a minute. Let me just go over this one more time. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, I know where the examples are. Okay, all right, wait a minute. Okay, announcements. Okay, so in the announcements, I've left these in here. Basically, here's some information. Here's your welcome. Service learning and agreement form is just an announcement that identifies what we need, the full address and the title of the person you're going to be working with. Clarification of identification of community in the journal, and helpful website. So this is what I left in. So that I thought would be helpful as you work on your community assessment progress. I knew I had examples in here somewhere. So they are in the announcements, so you might find that helpful. And then I also have an example of a project presentation that a student gave me permission to use from the past. And so there's a presentation that they did via PowerPoint. And then film discussion topic, not so you don't forget the dates of that. And then, okay, great. So those are the examples that I left in there in the announcement section. So we're all looking forward to working with all of you this summer. And if you have any questions, again, you'll have, there'll be a Meet Your Clinical Instructor, and so each one of us will have our own information there on how to contact us. But for my students, if it's on the weekend, it might be best to text, and I'm totally open to texting, but you'll have to get permission from your other instructors if they want to be contacted that way. So you can text, call, or email me, and then I've got my information right here. Okay, and your practicum instructor will have theirs on their site as well. All right, well, have a great summer, and we look forward to working with you soon. Thank you.